Welcome to an impromptu TPC episode. This will be 689. I just did two podcasts back to back for 4 hours, so my brain's cooked, but I'm on the phone with, of course, the great and wonderful Dr. Alexander, and I believe if I heard correct, the other name is Jim. And for everybody listening in the future, today is Wednesday, February 2nd, 2022 at 7:57 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're talking about I'm getting a phone call from Ottawa. It's about the truckers doubling down. It's about the city trying to kick them out, making people defecate in the streets, not letting them use the laundry machines. And it's about the truckers, the U.S. and the Canadian truckers at the border. And that's what I've gathered so far. And I'm going to shut my mouth and let you guys talk. So take it away.
Well, Tommy, first of all, this is Dr. Paul Alexander. Once again, I'm very, very privileged to be on a podcast hosted by you. Our other colleague, and this is Jim Torma. That's Jim, Jim, Torma, and he lives in Canada. Now, here's the bottom line. From my point of view, is this, how I'm involved quickly, and because I want Jim to really lay out the issue. Okay, so in this last week, a lot has happened. First of all, we had the defeat the mandates that had a major march on DC last week, ending on the steps of Lincoln. So I was one of the keynote speakers with McCullough, Malone, Bobby Kennedy, Urso, Cole, all of these people. From there, I was invited to the Senate the day after to speak with Senator Ron Johnson about the same issues, why these mandates have to end, and how America is going to emerge from the pandemic. From there, a couple of days after, Jim Torma and his group, because of the trucking convoy that was coming to Canada, asked me to deliver a speech at the Rainbow Bridge between the United States and Canada in Niagara Falls, where there's a halfway point on that bridge where Canada ends and the United States begins. And we got truckers from Canada to come there, truckers from US to come and meet at the midpoint, exchange hats, some gifts, and I delivered a speech. Now, from there, we've come to Ottawa. I've been here for 3 days. What did I find? I knew that there was a convoy coming of truckers, Canadian truckers from all over, but nothing prepared me from what I saw. I thought what I saw in DC in terms of crowd size was massive, but you have almost as though the entire city of Ottawa now is completely blanketed by trucks. These massive trucks that are idling. And what has happened is, this is based on when a trucker comes to the Canadian border from the United States right now, and we get a lot of our goods from America and vice versa, from Canada into the States. But right now, when a U.S. trucker comes, if that trucker is not vaccinated, the government of Canada will not let them in. Like under no condition, not even if they did a negative test, if they wanted to quarantine, they cannot come into the country. Many of these people, this is their livelihood. Not only that, the Canadian industry, in terms of our food, of our own living, depends on the U.S. trucker coming here daily. So it is drying out the Canadian economy and country, and it is driving these American truckers into poverty. Many of them have told me, I've interviewed them on the street, that they are here on their last $5 of gas in their truck, diesel. They have no more money. And what's the battle then? Well, the battle, and please excuse my voice, it's still hoarse because I'm talking whole day, every day. So anyway, what's the battle? The battle is, we want the vaccine mandate to end, because the government, I'm talking here now as a scientist part of this conversation. There's absolutely no science. There's no evidence. There's no data today that you should separate a vaccinated from an unvaccinated person, because the data emerged about 6 months ago till today, that the vaccine has failed. The vaccine failed against the Delta, but it was shockingly failed against Omicron. It offers no protection. So if you took a vaccine today, because the vaccine that is given, this is important, the vaccine that is given today is based on the initial one strain of the virus. I know you know these things, Tommy, but I'm just saying it for the listener. We have Omicron circulating. Therefore, the vaccine cannot hit Omicron spike. So there's a complete immune breakthrough. So it's garbage. It's junk. The vaccine is junk right now. And more importantly, we have data from the CDC VS database and Europe's vigilance database that shows that it's not only that the vaccine is ineffective, but the vaccine is actually harmful. There are tens of thousands of deaths. So you have truckers in America who's made a personal decision based on the fact that they were probably already COVID recovered, so they have natural immunity. But not only that, they have a right to make a decision with their body whether they want a drug or a vaccine, and they decided no. And we have the government here who is saying that you can't come in. Now, Tommy, if I felt that there was data and there was science that showed that the truckers were insane, and that by you coming in here unchecked, put the Canadian population at risk, and even the US population, I would never be in this fight. I would be on the fight of the science. So I am in the fight for the science now. And the science shows that there's absolutely no reason today to separate the vaccinated from the unvaccinated, because the vaccine is what we call a non-sterilizing vaccine. The key part of making a vaccine is it should be sterilizing. I am dumbfounded that the vaccine developers created a vaccine that is non-sterilizing. It's as though it was set up to fail. A vaccine should should stop infection and should stop transmission. This vaccine does none of that. And the not stopping transmission is critical, because if it does not stop me from transmitting it, if I get infected, then why must there be a mandate? Because I am getting infected when I take the vaccine. That's the other point. The point is the data is showing that it's the vaccinated person, not the unvaccinated, that is becoming infected and transmitting. So the idea of these vaccine mandates is illogical and nonsensical. They are punitive because they have no scientific basis. And that's the issue. The truckers want to come, ply their goods, earn a living, and they're being denied. And it's suffering the country of Canada and suffering these American truckers. Conversely, there's similar policy on the US side, and it's suffering the Canadian truckers. So we have this standoff, and the truckers are saying they want their freedom. They want the mandates dropped. They want to be able to have their freedom to live, to earn a living, to make the decision to be vaccinated or not. And quite rightly, if this vaccine offers no protection, does not protect the upper airways, and does not stop transmission, then there's no basis, none, for any society to separate the vaccinated from the unvaccinated. And that is why you are seeing recently in the last 2 days, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Norway, all of these countries dropping the mandates, UK, etc., because they know there's no science to back it up. So over to you now, Jim.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Tommy, for giving me this opportunity to talk to our brothers and sisters across the border of the United States, the great U.S., that we share a very, very long border with. And yes, the truckers are at their wits' end. The truckers are being bankrupted with this decision to force the last few truckers into a position of having to vaccinate or not being able to apply their trade ever again. So these truckers, in their final desperation, came together in a very organic movement that started out west and started traveling across from the west to the east. It became the largest convoy in the world by a factor of 10 as they came to the ground zero, which is the Parliament, which is Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada, which is where the government that mandated this vaccine mandate for these truckers who up until now were considered as essential workers. These people who are solo with their vehicles, hidden, not exposing themselves to anybody because they drive for hours alone. They're always alone. And now all of a sudden they're told that if they don't vaccinate, they don't get to deliver goods. And these independent truck drivers are going bankrupt because they refuse to vaccinate. They are exercising their Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which is choice. And that choice is being robbed from them by the government, by the Justin Trudeau government. So what the truckers did was they came across. Nobody in their wildest imaginations could ever have thought that so many trucks would end up converging on this capital. And as I speak right now, there are still convoys coming. Large waves of convoys are coming to Ottawa. They're going to be arriving Saturday morning. And as Paul said, not only did we have hundreds of thousands of people here in Ottawa, there was millions around in the province mobilized and on their way here. This has been an incredible, incredible moment in time. And at the same time, a chaotic moment in time, because nobody thought of the magnitude of what was taking place. So we have simple issues like, where does somebody go to the bathroom? Porta potties. How do you eat? We have to get food. How do you get warm? You have to have fuel and a number of other things as well in order to be able to maintain altitude, so to speak. So what happened here in Canada, here in Ottawa, we had not retired, but people who did not vaccinate, police officers, firefighters, paramedics, logistics experts, coming together in an ad hoc grouping of 2 or 3 different command centers to try to reach out to the truckers and try to connect with them. We've had over 500 UTVs and ATVs at the ready with slip tanks for fueling up the trucks. They've been working hard over the last couple of days now as we've been organizing and starting to gel. We're finally in a place of much less chaos and organization, but it was a monumental task. We got thousands of trucks in Ottawa. We have thousands of people in Ottawa. And so we've had to work this out in some way or shape or form. But meanwhile, the mayor of Ottawa was phoning around to tow companies to tow the trucks out of Ottawa. So he started with local tow companies. And funnily, they all of a sudden caught COVID, all of them, so they couldn't do any towing. Then they reached out to Montreal, and they had the same issue. They couldn't do any towing. They reached out to Quebec City. They couldn't get one single tow company to come. And guess what? They reached out to Buffalo. And what did Buffalo do? They hung up the phone on the mayor of Ottawa. So we have solidarity across this country. We have solidarity in this continent of ours between the brothers and the sisters, the Canadians and the Americans, the citizenship families that have been fractured and disjuncted. As Paul said, he was at the border celebrating to try to get the unity of our families back together again. And here in Ottawa, the mayor of Ottawa was doing nothing but obstructing. All of a sudden, the coffee shops closed down. Well, of course, they got COVID relief funds from the mayor and from the federal government. And Justin Trudeau started smearing everybody that we're racist, we're misogynist, we're Islamophobic, we're this, we're that. Unbelievable, just to create more hatred against the truckers. Justin Trudeau's goal was to create hatred and even more division. That's what he's been doing his whole time in government, creating division after division after division. And what's happened? The Canadian public are sick and tired of the division. They fought back against it. And what's happening right now on the ground is love, unity. This whole weekend was all like a huge love fest. You should see the photographs, the singing, the respect, people bringing food, people cooking in their homes, bringing food to the truckers. I was out in the field as well. I was listening to the trucker who was saying, no, I don't need any more food. I've got 5 days worth of food in my truck that the locals have brought me. This is what's been happening. And now an army of farmers, an army of contractors, and an army of construction workers have to come together with UTVs and ATVs, 500 plus strong, delivering fuel, delivering food. And yes, we're at the ready now. The Ottawa says that they're not going to clear the streets when a snowstorm comes. Well, let's tell you what. The Canadian citizens are here, standing up proud and free, strong and free. We've got our shovels at the ready. Private tow companies ready to clear the streets. Private tow companies ready to clear the streets for emergency vehicles, which the mayor of Ottawa is obviously not really interested in. The mayor of Ottawa is looking to choke the truckers. They were refusing the fuel trucks to come in to fuel up the trucks themselves. They were threatening them with all kinds of different things. So what has happened here in Ottawa? The Canadian heart is showing itself. Our Canadian resolve is showing itself. The truckers are settling in. We're here to stay until the government eliminates all emergency orders, eliminates all mandates of any sort. And another thing, because the truckers love their country. They love their families. They're asking the government and demanding that the fuel surcharge, the fuel, the tax, the carbon tax. They're asking and telling the government that they're to take the carbon tax off of diesel fuel so that we can deliver food at a cost that isn't going to choke the middle class and the poor. Because what Justin Trudeau is doing right now with this carbon tax on diesel fuel that these truckers are using to deliver food is escalating the price of food astronomically. So what is happening here in Canada? The families who have mortgages or are paying rent have to make a decision. Do I pay rent? Do I pay my mortgage? Or do I buy food for my kids? Do I buy food for my family? That's what these governments are doing. It's sick. It's sick what these people are doing instead of working hand in hand. And what did the police chief of Ottawa say recently? That he has never seen such an incredibly peaceful protest in his life. Okay? There's video about it. All right? That's what's been happening. And today the police announced that there is no police solution to this problem. The only solution is political. So it's time for the government to drop all this tyranny. It's time for the government to realize their experiment of social control has failed, miserably failed. And he tried to damage the public by what he did. He tried to pit one part of society against another. And what happened on Parliament Hill? The vaxxed and the unvaxxed came together in unity to fight for the truckers, to fight for our freedom. This is what's happened. This is what's going on. So contrary to what the government wanted, to hide it, the media to hide everything. The media is so complicit in this tyranny. It's unbelievable. And the legacy media here in Canada, just so that the Americans know, it's funded by stipends by the federal government. From the CBC that is wholly paid $1.7 billion to basically gaslight and lie to the public, to the CTVs, to the Global News, to all the other stations that are out there that are basically doing the same thing because they get their kickback from the government. The only media that's been telling the truth are the truckers with their phone cameras, are the citizens with their phone cameras, or like you, Tommy, somebody who's got a podcast going with real people telling them what the hell is going on the ground. That's what's happening here. I have never seen unity like this in my life. And thank God for those truckers that have touched this spark across the world. The trucking convoys are happening everywhere, in Europe, down in your country in America. The truckers have mobilized the heart and soul of our freedoms. The truckers represent our freedoms that were stripped from us, and they're here to stay until the government gives our freedoms back, each and every one of them.
I just got goosebumps. So what can, aside from, we'll get into donating because I know people can donate to the GoFundMe and everything else, but what is going on right now?
Not GoFundMe. Sorry, GoFundMe is choking the money.
Got it.
GoFundMe is not giving the money out. It's horrible what's happening. So we have Gift and Go. And we've got a couple of other gifting organizations as well. We've got Adopt a Trucker as well. So we've got a number of methods to donate, but don't donate through GoFundMe. GoFundMe has been choking the truckers as bad as the city of Ottawa. As a matter of fact, the city of Ottawa is looking to go after the GoFundMe money. Get that one. They're going after the GoFundMe money, and they're not willing to plow the streets.
Noted. All right. So I'll put in. It's obviously it's not live, so I'll be able to put in the right links and everything. So I'll get those. So don't do GoFundMe.
Can you talk about Dr. Alexander? Can you jump in and then talk about how you spoke at the Peace Bridge and then how the crowds united? Because I don't think you guys covered that. Did you?
Yeah, I think we covered that, and I think what Jim just said to Tommy is we have to be careful to make sure we let the public know. The truckers had gotten a bunch of money from GoFundMe, and GoFundMe, I think, has held the money or is doing something that's not correct with the money. So no one is to donate to GoFundMe in this regard. And Jim and they are trying to finalize around where the donation should go. But the bottom line is, whether it was in DC or on the bridge, the US-Canada border in Niagara, the Rainbow Bridge, there was always peace, a lot of togetherness and love and camaraderie, and no violence. People just trying to articulate their position, listen to what the evidence is, and trying to see if the government or people in decision-making positions could actually sit back and reflect properly and come to the right conclusions. The bottom line here is that these people are starving, and they need to work, and they need to earn their living civilly, legally, as before. And there's no basis to keep these truckers out and to prevent them the freedom of movement, etc. Again, what we are talking about here is, this is February of 2022. This is not COVID February of 2020. It's 24 months now. We know exactly how to deal with COVID, who's at risk, how to manage it, etc. And there's no reason for this anymore. And the pandemic emergency is over. All of the emergency restrictions must be lifted because there's no reason for it. And at this point, one of the most punitive aspects is the issue around the vaccine mandates. And to mandate people who have not gotten the vaccine to take their privileges away. I mean, it is as simple and straightforward as the vaccine passports. These people who've look, I am not against anyone who've gotten a vaccine. In fact, I'm happy for you. That was the decision that you made. If you think you were properly informed and you wanted the vaccine and you took the vaccine, that's what living in a free world and society is about. Now, if I spoke as a scientist, I could talk about the ineffectiveness of the vaccine and the potential harms from the vaccine and why children under no condition must ever be given these vaccines. That's a separate discussion. But the point is, those people who've gotten the vaccine, you think now too, you get this vaccine mandate, and you think, well, my life is now set. I am vaccinated, so I'm in the washed part of the society. I'm in the privileged part now. I can go into the gym, I could go into the restaurant. But you don't understand. You make that mistake and take that vaccine passport out. It's over for you. And you don't understand that yet. Because the moment you take that passport, you have now given up your freedoms and you've been reduced now to somebody who is going to only enjoy privileges once you succumb and follow the dictates of the government. Because they can technically and literally turn your life off. If they decide that you need 8 doses of this vaccine after the 4th one, and you say enough, no more, I don't buy it anymore, they could turn your life off because you took the vaccine passport. Actually, it's the unvaccinated person who enjoys much more freedom than the vaccinated right now. They don't realize it. It's the unvaccinated. The vaccinated right now are boxed in. Moreover, the vaccinated is showing vastly greater infections and vastly greater hospitalizations and even death. And it's a key statement that Robert Kennedy said when we spoke together in Lincoln on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. And it is true. And he articulated a position that was so profound. And I wanted to repeat it here, that in any society like in Canada, creeping towards totalitarianism, he called it turnkey totalitarianism. And it was profound what he said. And what he meant by what he was trying to articulate is that a government will always try to take power from the citizens and from the society and amass more power than they did not even have. And when they do take it, they will never relinquish it back to you. And even if they do relinquish it, they're not going to take it off the books. And that's what Jim is trying to argue for, that the demands must meet. It's not just a matter of lifting the mandates. It's a matter of making sure that the emergency declaration, etc., is removed. Because that's what the government is going to try and do. They may try to capitulate and remove the mandates, yet have emergency powers still in place. And they will be able to re-implement it. Any government that takes power from the people will maximally abuse it. We have to stop them. We have to stop them legally, civilly, non-violently. We need to do it. And we often do it at the polls. Problem in Canada right now is election is not for 3 to 4 years from now. We don't have that time. So people need to get the government to adjust the positions the right way, to bring it into accord with science. And that's where we are right now. Over to you, Jim.
Well, you know what? That's beautiful. You said it very eloquently. And as we were talking here, I just got a text for truckers to take a shower. dial 514-963-1518. I repeat, for truckers to take a shower. dial 514-963-1518. And this is what I mean. There are people coming out of the woodwork, our regular citizens that are standing up. They're coming out. They're helping families, cooking in their kitchens, going to the trucks. You know, it's amazing the groundswell of support and love and affection that is taking place right now. But tomorrow, the press conference, well, the main part is that enough is enough. This is doubling down. We're going to make sure that the emergency orders are lifted. Any order that's out there, whether it's provincial or federal, must be eliminated, whether it's an order or an act. They must be shut down immediately. All mandates shut down immediately. And the carbon tax, to be fully removed from diesel so that we can give the people who need it the most, the poor families and the middle-class families and children, the ability to buy food instead of looking at whether they're going to have to pay rent or their mortgage before they buy food, including their heating. This is what needs to happen. And the goodwill that's going on right now in Ottawa from all of the citizens that are coming together is unbelievable. Today I was out there watching ATVs driving around, fueling up the trucks. Okay? These are young guys, young farmers, and just so you know, come Saturday, Ottawa is going to be loaded with farm tractors. The farmers are mobilized and are coming to Ottawa to support the truckers. Heavy equipment operators are coming to Ottawa to support the truckers. Enough is enough. We want to be back to the Canada that we know, the strong and free Canada that we've lived in for so long, that was stolen from us by the Trudeau regime. And each and every party, the Conservative Party of Canada, the NDP, they've all been in lockstep together as though they are a uniparty in this country. The Liberals, the Conservatives, and the NDP have been in lockstep, walking us down. And right now, the Conservative Party is looking to basically, they got rid of their leader today. They got rid of their leader today because they know that they're in deep, deep doo-doo when it comes to what they've done. But it doesn't matter which puppet they're going to put in place, because bet you me, that they are puppets. They're all puppets of the same machine that locked us down. It's time for Canada to take back its freedoms. And guys like Paul, Dr. Paul Alexander, I've got so much respect for. Dr. Malone, Dr. McCullough, Dr. Risch, I could keep going, Planesi, I could go on and on and on and on. These people all risk their careers for the truth. These are the true ethical people, the people that uphold their Hippocratic oath, those who are medical doctors. These are the people that we need so badly to be true and honest, and they are. And these are the people that are the guiding light for the future of the medical field, scientific field. These are the true trailblazers. These are the people that are going to bring the medical industry, which is completely in ashes right now, the scientific community, which is completely destroyed by all this gaslighting that's been created. These are going to be the pillars. These are going to be the people that we're going to be looking to rebuild all of these institutions which were destroyed by politics, by media, and by bought-off organizations such as our College of Nurses and Physicians and the rest of them. They're all complicit. The pharmacological industry, all complicit in this horror. This should never have happened. As Paul said when I first met him, we should have been isolating the vulnerable, isolating those who have comorbidities, and let the world continue to live. But instead, what we did was we shut down the world and isolated the healthy, and then basically created a carnage amongst the seniors and carnage amongst the elderly, where the seniors' homes ended up being killing fields. Why? Because our seniors' homes have never been in good shape. Our hospitals have never been in good shape. They've always been substandard, regardless of what you've heard in the news. Our hospitals have always been substandard. And what this is showing is how substandard these people are, and all of them together. And all I can say is I thank you so much to be able to say this out there and to say something, to put it out into the world so people know the truth of what's really going on. Because one of the biggest problems we've had is the media that we've counted on to tell the truth have been abject liars, outright liars, lying to us, all based, listening to a scripted message. That's what we've been faced with. And it's only the people like yourself, Dr. Paul, and like you, Tommy, that are getting our word out and our message out. The truth needs to be told, and the truth needs to be upheld. That's the only way we're going to move forward to be strong and free as a country, as a continent, and as a world. Here in Canada, small convoy turned into a monster convoy, creating a monster worldwide convoy of freedom-loving people. And regardless of who's taken what or who's been jabbed or whatever, we have absolutely no animosity towards anyone. If you want a mask, that's your choice. If you want to get vaccinated, that's your choice. But you bet that one thing for certain, that when people get sick, those who are healthy will be there embracing them and helping them through whatever they're going to go through in the future, because of whatever gaslighting our government and our medical industry and the pharmacy, the pharmacological industry, big pharma, that has done nothing but look at profit at the expense of human life. That's what we need. We need to have people like you say your truth. And Tommy, I thank you so much for spreading the truth.
Of course, my
It's
man.
wonderful.
It's an honor. If I can ask, how long are the truckers going to stay there?
They will be here until the government drops all mandates. They're not leaving.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you something. The army of people coming into town to help the truckers, this is going to turn into an incredible, incredible state of affairs. And they will be helped and fed and clothed. And as you just heard, we're already teaching a lot of truckers to get a shower. So there's people doing everything they possibly can. That's the one thing that I know about the Canadian citizen. The public the grassroots people, the people on the ground, not these high and mighty politicians or these other individuals. They are the salt of the earth, and they are out here to help one another. Canadians are arm in arm in solidarity to help one another and to protect one another. And that's the way it's going to be. And the police are not going to attack our people. We're not going to attack the people. We're not going to attack the parliament. We're here to make a statement. We want our freedoms back. We want our freedoms back. No government should be allowed to strip the citizenry of their freedoms, of their God-given freedoms that is based in our Charter of Rights. Our governments, our media, our doctors have all trampled on our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and it's time that the Charter of Rights and Freedoms become the supremacy that it is. God gave us our rights, and no man can take it away, and no politician can take it away. That's the bottom line.
Beautiful.
Tommy, I just want to ask Jim something quick before I forgot.
Sure.
Jim, remember that the other night I was supposed to go out with you guys to do some fuel and food. Are you guys going to do that tonight with the truckers, or that you already dealt with that? Because I would like to come tonight.
Oh, we've got, you know what? I'm going to have to send you guys pictures of the ATVs out there delivering fuel, food. I mean, like, honest to God, the food, we have more than enough food for the truckers. This is the beauty of it all. Our biggest problem was porta potties, because the city of Ottawa was stopping we have like hundreds of porta potties that have been donated for free, and we can't even place them because the city of Ottawa wants to make sure that it's as comfortable as possible for the truckers. This is what I mean. This is how sick these people are. They won't even let people defecate in a humane way. They're expecting them to defecate on the streets, and that's exactly what I see. I look at the bridges where there's tunnels in that. You walk down the sidewalk, and there's human fecal matter all over the place. And this is the product of the mayor of Ottawa. This is what he's doing. He's talking about creating bike paths, but he won't even give a person a porta potty. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. This is the type of politicians we have here. They're completely out of touch with reality. I don't want to say that they're evil. I'll just say that they're out of touch with reality. Because the other option is that they're extremely evil people.
Yeah, I would say some of them are evil people, Jim. It's okay. I would say they're evil. They're evil people.
You know what though? I have to watch my mouth, but you know what? I got to be honest with you. My heart. The other night, I was practically bawling my eyes out when I saw you guys talking and delivering your speeches on the bridge, and that beauty where the Bridge Commission, the CBP, the U.S. Border Patrol were actually assisting the American and Canadian citizens to come together. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
What that tells me is that there's no way these governments have power anymore. The power is in the people. That CBP officer is a person with a family. That Border Patrol agent has a family. The Bridge Commission, the person at the Bridge Commission has a family. They're watching this horror, but because they have jobs as well, they're threatened with their jobs. This is what's happened with all of this. Everybody's been threatened with their livelihood. Okay, this is how they've coerced people into taking things without proper information, without being informed properly. They're told, "Listen, you got to take this jab, or you're not going to work." But nowhere did they give them the sheets as to what the potential harm is, what kind of data they have to support whether there's any efficacy, or more importantly, actually, I'm not even talking about efficacy. What data do they have at all that states any type of safety? I want to hear about safety first. Efficacy comes after. Safety is the most important thing, and safety was sidelined for this whole so-called pandemic.
Excellent.
Can you guys touch on what you said earlier about the sniper?
Oh, that's the well, okay, well, I know him too. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I wouldn't say his name on the air.
Sure.
We shouldn't.
That's fine.
Because, but he worked for the Prime Minister.
Okay.
And if you ever looked at photos of the Prime Minister maybe 6 months ago from now, you would see him there and he has this long rifle on his back.
Yeah.
Because he's okay. But I know because we know him. I deal with him almost daily. And Jim deals with him daily. Jim could speak. He decided no vaccine and they tossed him out. So, Jim, over to you. You explain.
Yeah, so this guy is the salt of the earth. He's been sleeping 2 or 3 hours a night. This is completely voluntary on his part. And he's heading up a command center working with a group of people that are going through the same thing. They sleep 2 or 3 hours a night, maybe 4 at best, as they work through this logistical nightmare. And they're finally getting a handle on it. There's more and more volunteers coming to the table, more and more people helping, more and more phone numbers to be able to connect and bring people together. My goal was to try to help as much as I could to try to create connectivity between, what was once disjuncted groups into being able to have a communication network where they could then start talking to one another, interfacing with one another, and knowing one another better, and then getting their logistics down to a science and a stream. And that's where we're starting to get to now. So, it's taken us a few days. Normally this would be a 6-month operation and preparation for something like this. I have to tell you something, that the will is so strong in all these people that we were able to take what would have taken 6 months of preparation into 3 days of readiness. Okay. So that's where we're at the end of the day. So, the unbelievable love that people have for one another here in Canada is evident in the outreach.
So, is that a radio? Is that one of the truckers?
Sounds like it might be.
So you guys were saying earlier when we first spoke on the phone about, people are saying, when is it coming to the United States? And I think you said this, Jim, and I'm 100% on board with you. Sure, that's great. It makes us all feel good. It's a great picture, but ultimately it's not going to do jack shit. I think you're 100% right in that you have to focus on Canada first. That's where it started. That's where it's aggregating. That's where it's coalescing. Don't split it up and divide and conquer your own efforts just yet. So wait for America, hold the line in Canada. Is that correct?
That's correct. Absolutely. Because the whole world is looking to us. If we capitulate and fail now, it's collapse.
Yes,
then
we can
we're
hear
in a
you.
situation.
Sorry.
So if we capitulate and if we collapse here in Canada, all of the world is going to collapse, because right now we are that light. We are that beacon that is shining the light of hope across the world. That's why we have to hold firm. We got to hold the line. And I'm asking our American brothers and sisters to come to the border. If you can come across the border, then do so. If you can't, come to the border and be that bastion of support for us at the border. Because once this Canadian regime falls, then we can set our sights on America. And then we can open up America's borders once again to the strong and free south of the border here, so that we can unite as our North American families coming together. And that will set off a complete collapse of this global tyranny that's taking place around the world. And it's going to collapse it all throughout Europe and Australia and everywhere, 100%.
Okay, and
But I can.
sorry.
No, Tommy, I was
All right, so yeah, take it away. The truckers, we had the leaders of the USA Truckers. We have AJ, Jen E, Dixie, and Navy Mom. What are y'all's thoughts on this? Because you're obviously on the ground, and I'm sitting in a chair in an apartment, and I think you can probably speak on it a little more realistically than I can.
Well, the one thing I can say is the American truckers are behind Canada 100%. I have been on Zello. I have been on Zello for a lengthy period of time, and I have assembled a team that is unparalleled. We have people come in, and we had a trucker that somebody put water in his gas tank. We had a trucker that they were having problems with their bunk heater, and we've helped them find mechanics. We've helped truckers find medical aid. When it comes to a trucker, we've done it for American and Canadians. You know, this has to be a united front, because if it's not, it's going to fail. Okay? Forced is never freedom, and we all agree on that. All I know is as USA.Big Rigs being my channel, I am beyond thankful for Dixie Rose, for General E, and for AJ. They have come together with me, and they have helped these truckers. We have Canadian citizens on there. We have kids on there talking to the truckers. We've listened to the kids, and the truckers. They talk to the kids. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. The united, it's a force. It's taken its own life force, and its purpose is to help this, call it a protest, call it a stand, call it what you will. But this is a force that is supporting and pushing for Ottawa and for freedom.
Absolutely.
Dixie Rose is on here, and I'll let her tell you a little bit about talking to the kids. It's just been amazing.
All right, Dixie.
Hello, this is Dixie.
Hi, Dixie. This is Tommy.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thanks for coming on here. So can you tell us about what it's like at the border, or what it was like being at the border?
When I was at the border, where I was pretty quiet. I'm going to be honest. We had a few four-wheelers there with us. We didn't get on our side of it. I think maybe because of the Niagara Falls over there, whatever was going on over there, everyone kind of went that direction, which is fine. But at our side of it, which was on the east side, we didn't have a whole lot of action. We had a really big rally that turned out absolutely fantastic. We are actually excited about that. That went well. But see, on the U.S. side, we had to actually leave the border because we have to make a living. You know, we're all struggling in America too. They're killing us older operators over here. People don't want to work. We're waiting hours and hours to get loaded, hours and hours to get unloaded, which that's taking money out of our pocket. We're on the road 24/7. Our job is to get a load, drop a load, get a load, drop a load. It's not happening right now. So for owner operators in America, it's pretty much the same thing as it is in Canada. We're all feeling it. It's terrible what's happening in both countries, all over the world, to be honest with you. So we are actually heading south, and we're moving a load because we have to make a living. I got mouths to feed. I got babies in here. I got my little man who rides with me on the semi, and I got to feed him, you know? So I have to make my decisions for my family, but we stand with Canada. My gosh, we're not leaving Canada behind. No way. We're slow rolling across the U.S. Why not? We get loaded slow anyway. We got our flags flying for Canada, and that's how we're going to roll until Canada's ready to go. And if they need us at the border, we'll go to the border. We need the manpower at the border. That's what we need. And not only that, me and my husband, Ramblin' Rick, who's sitting next to me in the rig, all we do is push out for Canada. We tell everybody, we are Canada's media, because we push. And we're letting truckers know. When we stop places, we let truckers know. They don't know anything, guys. Nothing is showing here. I just want to make that clear. The 48 states know nothing unless it's word of mouth or unless they're finding it on social media and it's facts. That's it. So that has been my job since last week. Monday is when I actually got a TikTok account, and I started pushing stuff between TikTok and Facebook for Canada. And that's all I've been doing. And then midweek, or towards the end of the week, this Zello thing came up, and that's when I entered the Zello world. And I met all these wonderful people, from the Canadians to Americans to all over the place. And these kids, man, these kids get you. The kids out of Canada, I can't even express to you what they do to you, because they're suffering in some ways more than the American children are. Some of them can't go swimming. They can't go to school. They can't even go to a movie. I mean, what is that? Like, they're kids. Let them live, you know? And I sit there and talk to them, and the only thing I can do is put a smile on their face. And that's what most of us try to do. We just try to keep them happy and uplifted because that's what these kids need. Kids don't need to be drugged down. They get that enough in the real world. Let's just let them be happy, do what they need to do. And the governments aren't allowing this whatsoever. They're like, nah, keep the kids inside. They don't need to see outside. Let's keep them pushed down. And that's not okay.
Yeah. Well, they're evil people. It's just what it is. What was that?
I don't. That was not.
That's probably just it's probably just the FBI listening in. Shout out FBI, losers.
No, but Tommy,
Dr. Alexander.
2 other members of my group are General E and AJ, and what they've helped do with this channel that we have operating, it's just we've organized it, and I'll let AJ tell a little bit about what we've done with the channel to help the truckers and the Canadians and the Americans.
Yeah, go ahead, come in, AJ, in general. Put them in.
AJ,
go ahead, brother AJ, if you're ready.
All right. Well, when I came into this, it was from one of General Lee's people out of his group, and he shared a link over to me. I've been on Zello since the inception, before it was actually called Zello. I know the etiquette of Zello and the programming and all that. Me and General Lee have known each other for a few years now. We worked together on many different projects here in the States, and we got word of this convoy to Ottawa. We're suffering the same effects right here in the States. It doesn't matter whether you're a trucker, whether you're a regular worker, whether you're a child. Everybody's going through the torture. We're all going through it. The truckers, we said here in the States, you shut the truckers down, you shut down the supply chain, or slow it down, people will start to listen because their pockets are going to start getting empty just as their cupboards are. Truckers run this country. They deliver everything. Yet they're getting disrespected above anybody else. They're forced to do this. They're forced to do that. They're forced to pay extra. I don't think it's right. The mandates, that's step one to getting everybody's freedom back. We're a North American continent, both Canada and America together. We saw what they were going through. We decided to go there to help because we understand the feeling. We know how it feels to be pushed and forced. And right now, Canada needed us more. So we're there. We're helping. I'm here by the Canadian border. I'm in a little town of Attica by Buffalo. But I know a whole bunch of patriots all over this country that have stood there at the Niagara border with another one of the members of the channel, another one of the truckers. I can call out the groups by name, but you'd probably see them on Twitter and Facebook and everything else yourselves, if you look. Rainbow Bridge, Peace Bridge, they were there because the word went out to them. If there's anything that's needed, we do it. Doesn't matter. And like it was already said, the states, we can wait a little bit. We got to put the attention on Ottawa, Ontario, and so on and so forth. Toronto, you name it. We got to put the attention on Canada first. Shut it down. Don't be negative and don't start no, as I call it, some type of Antifa garbage. But shut it down in a peaceful manner. Abide the laws. Abide the rules. Don't get yourself in trouble and don't get hurt. But show that we mean business. We're done. We are one united front, and this is worldwide now.
Hell yeah.
That's excellent.
All right. That is a really great comment. There's no question that we are brothers and sisters across the border, and that and we always have been. You know, I lived along the border towns most of my life. I remember spending a lot of great times in Buffalo, Niagara Falls, Grand Island, you know, Attica. I know Attica as well. I lived in the Finger Lakes for a number of years. You know, we're not really that different from one another. Outside of the fact that you call yourselves Americans, we call ourselves Canadians. But at the end of the day, we're all patriots with big hearts, and we love our families, we love our country, and we love our freedom.
Amen.
Oh yeah.
Amen to that from General Lee.
I mean, look, we spoke about this earlier that there's no difference right now. The vaccines don't stop transmission, and we have clear data coming out of the UK, Scotland, Australia, Israel, etc., demonstrating to us that the vaccinated person actually harbors virus and transmits virus. So to really separate the two at this point is really punitive, and it really has no scientific basis. And that's why I'm in the fight to drop the mandate, because I see no credible scientific basis for it. And you know, it from a matter of freedom, etc. It is time. The pandemic has begun to wind down, and Omicron is an exit strategy. And you know, so that basically is it. I mean, we could quote study. I wrote this op-ed published in Brownstone Institute about a month ago. I updated it recently. It has 42 studies, 34 of them on Delta and about 8 of them on Omicron, showing that the vaccine basically is ineffective and not properly safe. So because of that, it strongly questions the issue about the mandates. I mean, we have studies by Larry Mersma in Wisconsin out of the United States, which shows that the vaccinated and the unvaccinated person have almost similar viral loads. That we also have studies showing us that when nurses who were vaccinated, they still became infected and they still transmitted, and they harbored massive amounts of viral load. Like there was a study in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, by Chow et al. So you know, we have all of the we have the research that shows this is not just hearsay. And the fact is, even if I don't say anything or anyone else, you just need to just follow the news or look around you in the society that you live in, wherever it is. You would see that everyone who's gotten vaccinated are becoming infected, because we are vaccinating with a non-sterilizing vaccine. So it will not cut the chain of transmission. And if you cannot cut the chain of transmission, then you will never get to control the pandemic with these vaccines. These vaccines are complete failure. Complete failure. I am one of them who would argue that they don't work, period, and they're unsafe. But that's my opinion.
Dr. Latula, do you have some comments about that?
Well, I think that, the accumulating evidence clearly shows that the vaccine is not only worthless, but it is very harmful. The potential for injury and for even death is high enough that this so-called vaccine should have been shelved a long time ago. And the fact that it hasn't, and the fact that, when you compare all of the vaccines that have been produced in history, none of them have ever been shoved down our throat like this one has. And there's very much a reason for that. And the reason has nothing really to do with medicine. It goes beyond that. I think that medicine is simply the vehicle that has been used to effect, if you will, a coup against America and to control the people in the interest of a globalist agenda. And that when you add up all the clues to everything that is happening in the world, and you look at, America, supposedly the most powerful nation, the wealthiest nation in the world, now suffers the most morbidity or mortality associated with this jab. It shows you that something is just not adding up. And a lot of people are saying, well, I just don't understand all the craziness. And I am imploring people to understand that this is not craziness. This is a well-calculated, well-thought-out sinister plot that has nothing really to do with medicine other than the fact that it appears to be a slow genocide, and it's one that is masqueraded as something that is supposed to be helping people when in fact it's doing just the opposite. And that, when I say that, I'm referring to both the physical aspects of the jab as well as the psychological, and that pertains to the entire pandemic response, which includes all the lockdowns that caused millions to suffer and die globally. And you look at the mask tyranny and what that has done to our nation and many other nations. It has divided families. It has divided people from all different classes. And so this whole thing has an agenda that goes well beyond medicine, but medicine is simply being used as a modality to generate fear so that people can be controlled.
I would agree with that 110%. It's simple enough. It's simple enough to say it's for your own health, and at first it can make sense, but the longer and longer you look at it, you realize this is just tyranny with some new makeup on.
Absolutely. I don't know if you are all aware of my situation. My license was first suspended 2 days after I spoke at a Stop the Steal rally on the Capitol building at Salem in Oregon. And during that speech, I actually declared two things. Number one, that I and my staff did not mask ever, and that it caused absolutely no harm whatsoever. There was no contact tracing to my office. And the real crime, the thing that got me in trouble now, looking back, I believe, was the fact that I stated very clearly that I treated patients with 100% success when I treated them early for COVID. They all got better within a week. And of course, at that time, I believe that the powers that be knew that the jab was coming forth because that was produced at the same time that the virus was being genetically engineered, and then they were to be released one after the other. So when you have someone who is speaking and saying, look, this is very easily treatable, that person would have to be silenced very quickly, because otherwise the emergency use authorization would be nullified. And I think that's why they sought to make a quick example of me, because I spoke up quite early, and I spoke very openly, stating that I felt that this was an agenda to take us down. And if you saw the initial video that went global on November 7th, I find that I looked back at that and listened to it, and everything I said has proved to be true. So it just exposes the real dark agenda that they are pushing for, and we have to understand what this is all about. And I think people finally are starting to wake up on that.
I agree. Jenny, if you're there, real quick before we start to wrap this up, exactly how did American people mobilize to aid Canada so quickly when the media so clearly is suppressing everything that we're doing? How on God's green earth did we actually get up there and start to aid this?
Well, the thing was that there was already truckers that were in Canada, so there's a certain amount that were already there pre announcement of everything that happened. So, luckily there was truckers up there. A lot of them that had to they can't give up their livelihood, so they had to move on. But after all of the things that have been touched on, the science and the morality and the ethic, unethical nature of a lot of this COVID stuff, I'd like to just add a couple things how we got here. We got here by a power-hungry man that has violated people's human rights and civil rights way far back into the 1980s. He was specifically responsible for AZT, which killed a ton of HIV patients. You can watch the movie Dallas Buyers Club to get you a good idea exactly who that guy was fighting against. this man has written papers about how masks were the main cause of the deaths of bacterial, issues in their lungs from the Spanish flu. So the main killer in the Spanish flu was masks, but he wants people to mask up 2 or 3 times. I mean, what's he trying to admit to us? Basically, what I see when they do these autopsies on these people out here is that they're finding hundreds of blood clots on people that have been boosted or that are on their 4th shot, and they're doing these autopsies and they're finding hundreds of blood clots from these people that are vaccinated. I mean, so when do we find these people guilty? When do we say we don't trust them anymore? That's the biggest question that we have to answer for ourselves. Is once we answer those questions, then we can make them accountable.
Dr. LaTulip, what are the chances that you can get your license back? Because I've interviewed in the last 2 weeks Dr. Meryl Nass, who lost her license, her medical license in the state of Maine, as well as I interviewed yesterday Dr. Paul Merrick, who didn't quite lose his license, was forced to resign. What are the chances that you can win the fight to get your license back?
In reality, my chances are about nil, because see what happens, and I just want you to know, and this was inspired by Carolina. I'm writing sort of a neutral book right now on medicine, specifically on central pain, which is poorly understood by doctors everywhere. But my second book that I want to write will address the issue of the corruption in the entire National Medical Board system. The National Federation of Medical Boards actually is a very corrupt agency, but every state has its own liberties in implementing whatever decisions they make. And the reason why, if you, for example, if you were to read, I got a second volley of attacks from the medical board because they wanted to put me down to guarantee that I never practiced medicine. So what they did is, because I practice pain medicine and addiction medicine, they actually opened up 2 false investigations. I mean, these were completely falsified, totally fabricated investigations that had no basis whatsoever, and they did it so they could take me down. What they do, and this is the tactics of all the medical boards, they are colluding somehow because the similarities are just too great between the states. So what they did is they make me out to be an absolute villain. Now, I have had no harm whatsoever in my practice of pain medicine. I have had nothing but success, no suicides, no hospitalizations because of my treatment, no overdoses, and I have saved many from the suffering of addiction. And I never once have created a drug addict, as I have effectively treated pain. But if you read what the Oregon Medical Board said about me, see, they can say anything they want because they are, first of all, they are the judge and jury, and they are the prosecutor and the executioner in an administrative court setting. And that's where they operate. They do not want to go into a civil court or federal court. At the state or federal level, they don't want in there because they can do all their damage by taking even hearsay from anybody, anywhere in the country, could accuse me of something, and they can use that information as if it were factual evidence, and they broadcast that to the public on social media, stating it as though it were a fact. And in fact, hearsay is admissible as evidence in an administrative court hearing. So when they tell their ugly stories that are purely fabricated, all lies, the public hears it and they think, wow, this guy deserves to be hanging from a rope, right? And then what they do is, once that's all broadcasted, then they make sure, of course, this all gets sent to the National Practitioner Data Bank. And what chance does a doctor have going to another state applying for a license when I have been hung out to dry completely? What medical licensing board in any state would want to take on the risk of giving me a medical license based on what has been put into the media? See, it's a liability for them. So if I was on another medical board and read about what's been said about me, I would be extremely hesitant to say, okay, we'll grant you a license. And that's only problem number one. If I were to get a medical license, then I would be forever a target, and they would strive to take me down simply because I beat the system. And what we need to do, and this is what my second book is going to be about, is we need to somehow dethrone this rogue institution called the medical board, state medical boards. And that's going to be my chief goal.
Beautiful. Well, lastly, I was going to say, Dr. Alexander, for any other physicians, is there anything they can do about standing up to this, or is it kind of you just got to nut up and talk about it, and whatever happens, happens?
You mean in terms of the convoy and everything?
About, I was going to say more so about COVID. I mean, we're having doctors having their license revoked left and right, or is that maybe beyond the scope of this? I know we started talking about the convoy.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of doctors who are fighting, who are dealing with their boards and stuff. You know, I am one of the key members of the early treatment with McCullough and Zenko and Rish, and many of the doctors who work with us on those papers too, they have been targeted by their boards, and some of them have actually stopped practicing in America right now. I have a couple of friends who are clinicians in America who are right now in some Caribbean islands. Just they've shut everything down for about 2 years, they said, and they'll come back another time because they are not, they just can't deal with the targeting and the fight. So it's a terrible situation. And I mean, like, I lost my professorship at Mac and positions, income and stuff. So we all take a hit. I'm very sorry to hear the doctor's explanation as to what he's gone through too. So many people have been dealing with this. So, but right now we have this immediate issue because the most, like I wrote this paper recently with Rish and Bhattacharya, the title being, "It is time to declare the pandemic emergency over." And I think that's where we are now. We need to open our societies. And once we get there, as soon as we can get there quickly, then we need to circle back. And we need to go after everyone. I'll be as blunt as I can. We need to open societies and get going. But we cannot accept mea culpas and, oh, I am sorry, I made a mistake, I was just following orders. No. We need to go back and examine it properly. And if we find people, no matter who they are, no matter what level of government, no matter if they were your friend even, but they did things that were wrong, that they did things knowingly wrong, that ended up costing human lives, they need to go to jail.
Yeah.
This time, they need to go to jail. They have no I'm sorry. I want to see people go to jail for what we've been through. Because I can tell you, because my own work with the United States government, I can tell you, data that's never even been made public, and I wouldn't say the details, but there are tens of thousands of Americans who lost their lives during this pandemic because of the lockdowns and the school closure, not because of the virus. We have thousands of children who ended their lives, and the media never. You, Tommy, and many on this call will learn the numbers in time, because it has been kept hidden. It was kept hidden under Trump by the media, and now under Biden, protecting Biden. They hid it from the public when Trump was president because he would have gotten credit because he was begging to open the society. So had the real numbers been made public, he would have looked very good. So, but now they're still covering up, but now it's to protect Biden. So we will eventually learn the truth, and I can tell you, it will be horrifying when people understand. Little children in America hung themselves. That is something that the public has not visited yet. But that's real data that will come out. So, but we need to go back and find Fauci and Feinberg's and find Bola from Pfizer and Bansal from Moderna. Find them all and put them in a court and let them answer them properly. Everybody needs to have a proper defense and to defend themselves. And if they did nothing wrong, they have to live their lives normally, peacefully. No one ever interfere with them. But if they did wrong, they need to go to jail for a very long time. That's my view.
Yeah, I talked to Dr. Hodkinson yesterday, and he'd said something along the same lines that you just said. He said he can't talk about it, but he knows, he says he has trusted sources that say that there are insane numbers of deaths that the U.S. government's hiding. Is there any more you can tell us about that, or should I not press on that? Is that secret?
Well, no, I can't.
Damn it, Dr. Alexander, you're a tease. All right, so on the line we also have, she's telling me, Dr. Farella, a pediatrician. Dr. Farella, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Can
you hear me?
Yes, I can. Well, hey, I'm Tommy. Thanks for being on here. Very nice to meet you. Is there any chance that you could talk to us right now about the effect this is having on kids, about jabbing the kids, about vaccine mandates? Where would you like to go with this?
Well, first and foremost, let me just kind of back up and tell you, I am a pediatrician. I've been for 25 years or so in my own solo practice, and here in Webster, Texas. And one of the things that I think people really need to understand is that, what is the reason we vaccinate? Okay, so the reason why you vaccinate is you vaccinate someone against a disease that they are at high risk for morbidity or mortality, meaning death or severe outcome, severe bad outcome. With COVID, the evidence is quite clear over and over again for the last 2 years. The kids are really not affected. It's not something that bothers them. Experts say that more than 50% of them were probably naturally immune going into the pandemic because of coronavirus cross-reactivity, which is coronavirus has been around forever. It's a common cold. So a lot of the kids, because they go to school, daycares, things of that nature, they've had the common cold, got over it multiple times, and now, they have natural immunity. So going into the pandemic, we knew kids were going to be pretty well off. They just, unless they have some severe underlying issue, which the common cold can really wreak havoc on kids, for instance, if they have underlying, cancer treatment, or if they have a severe autoimmune deficiency or something of that nature, immunoglobulin deficiencies. That's a different story. But we're talking about healthy kids. Healthy kids do just fine with COVID. We were open the entire time, and I can tell you, the kids that got it worse than anything were the teenagers, the late teens. So anyone over 15 or so, they're the ones that got more of a flu-like illness in the beginning. But it was a handful. There wasn't a whole lot. There were kids that were, thankfully living their lives like they should have been. And they picked it up, on tournaments, playing softball or whatever. And, I treated them and they did fine. They were sick a couple of days and they did fine. So when you're looking at that particular population and you notice that, they get a little bit of a flu-like illness over the age of 15, but so what? They get over it and they're fine. The harsh reality of what the mainstream media and what the narrative is that they're saying that children are the nidus of infection and are infecting the adults that are at high risk. And of course, never before in our history have we ever vaccinated a population that is not at risk to protect an at-risk group. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, if an adult is at risk, have the adult protect themselves. It's not the kid's job. Right? So, and then if you want to add more to this, this particular technology is unlike anything that we have ever seen in vaccines. I can tell you, we have vaccinated, not with COVID vaccine, because I will not carry that in my office, but we have used vaccines for many, many, many years. And I can tell you, other than, local reaction, like a bump on the leg or something, we have not really had any severe adverse reactions. And I think the key is to have conversations with your families and partner with your families. With the COVID, if you look at COVID, there's been so many different things that have gone on that we have never seen before in medical history. The first thing is you don't contact your doctor if you're sick, right? That was the narrative at the very beginning. If you are sick, stay home, maybe phone your doctor. Okay, that's ridiculous. If you're sick, you go to your doctor. The second thing is the doctors were either locked up or afraid to treat sick patients, and that's still going on 2 years later, which is ridiculous, right? That's what we signed up for. That's what we were called to do, is take care of sick patients. That's the second thing. The third thing that they were told to do is to go and get tested whether you're sick or not. And you're not going to your doctor to get tested. You're going to a drive-by, swab in the nose parking lot on some street corner. This makes no sense. A test is ordered by a physician in order to guide the diagnosis and treatment. And here we have all these people just running to go and get this test that we know is it's not specific. So if it's not specific, that means that it's not a great test. So we have all these positives that probably aren't positives. And then the sick people, which of course, as a physician, you are trained to take the signs and symptoms of the disease, make a decision, and treat the patient. You don't need a test. There are people that said, well, I did my COVID test and I'm negative, but I feel awful. Well, you probably have it. It's just that the test was faulty. Yeah. Here, let's take care of you. Yeah. And now it's a prerequisite. The test is a prerequisite for everything. You can't go on a trip. You can't get on an airplane. You can't get on a cruise. You can't get on whatever. It's ridiculous. You can't go back to school. This is dumb. I've never before. So we have a population where the risk-benefit ratio, meaning the risk from the shot, is much, much greater than the benefit of what the vaccine might actually do to a child. We have already lost, in this country, 2 5-year-olds to heart attacks. And it has only been open to 5 and up for 5 weeks, I think, 4 or 5 weeks. This is criminal. Those are 2 beautiful children that their potential is wasted and gone because of a fear-mongering narrative for a disease that they have survived for 2 years, and probably were immune to well anyway. And there's no good studies on safety and efficacy. We never give anything to pregnant women or children without safety and efficacy studies, which Pfizer has failed that in so many different ways. It's not even funny. And now they're targeting 6 months and above. This is ridiculous. Those babies do fine. There is no reason to do this. And so the only way that we can stop this is if we educate parents to not be fearful and do not allow your child to get vaccinated for COVID. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Could I say something quickly?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, because I can't. I have an interview to do in about 10 minutes. But I wanted to say something. One of my boys is going to. How do you say, Doc? Is it Dr. Farrell?
Farella.
Mm-hmm.
Farella. What they just said was perfectly on point. But and here's the key. I belong to the EBM world, evidence-based medicine, which you probably know. I did my doctorate under Dr. Gordon Guyat, who founded evidence-based medicine with Dave Sackett at McMaster in Canada. And I still do some support for their research groups. And I am involved heavily in research methodology globally. The field of evidence-based medicine is now dead. Medical research is now dead. And they killed it. They killed their own field. And I know many of the top research methodologists in the world. Because I went to school with them and I schooled under them. And they're at MAC. 7 of the 10 top methodologists are there. And I'm good friends with them. But they failed the Canadian and the world population. and they're going to be held accountable. It is, put it this way, every vaccine study that was put out, everyone would have never made it further than the submission to the FDA had the people at McMaster and the EBM world not been whoring to the grant money and to the grant agencies. And that's what this is all about. It is Dr. Farrelly's medical profession that failed us, not her. She should be given a medal. But it's her colleagues and her friends that have to be held accountable one day. Because what they did, they have remained silent and in many cases went along. Why? Because of protecting their job, their career, their grant money, their research position, etc. And that's what this is all about. It's because of that silence. And the government and big pharma paying for it and buying it off. And it's doctors, scientists like me, Dr. Farrelly, those on this phone, who cut against the grain, and we decided no. So I've lost my income, my professorship, blah, 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 like others on this phone. That's a chance we take because we think in life it will work out again in the future. But we have a serious battle on our hands. But 99.9% of doctors in this world, in America, in Canada, should hang their heads in shame. And there'll be a reckoning one day because they have stood by in Canada and allowed the government to do this, to tie their hands with early treatment, particularly, where we showed 90% of people who've died would have been alive today. Of the 850,000 deaths in America, we modeled the data. Zelenko, myself, Rish, McCullough, we did the math, and we showed 780,000 people out of the 830,000. 90% would be alive today had we used early treatment. So that blood is on somebody's hands, and we're going to have to circle back. We're going to have to circle back. But it's because of the medical profession, the academic community, and it's all about research money. It's about money. This is about money in the end. That's it, money. Yeah. Because the NIH receives all of the funding to disperse amongst all of the research institutions and universities in America, as an example. So any scientist or any doctor, whether you're in a university setting, a hospital setting, and you're doing research and you want a grant, you could never question Fauci or Francis Collins in the past, ever. You will not get your grant.
Yeah.
And that's what. It's that money that bought the silence. And that's the machine that Fauci set up. Fauci and Francis Collins, I know, I worked in the U.S. government. They set up a machine that brought silence from countries, from academic institutions in countries, from research grant agencies. Because remember, the NIH don't just fund the United States direct. They fund other funding agencies. So even if you, Tommy, was going to get rejected from your grant in Canada or in the US, and you said, let me go to this other funding agency and not the NIH, that funding agency still won't fund you because they get funding still from the NIH. So that's why doctors, I would say by thousands from NIH and CDC, have told me when I was there and even now that, Paul, you people, there's only about 15 of you. Don't stop fighting. Don't stop, but we can't talk. We are silent. Because if I did, I would lose my career. Some are threatened, some fear for their own life. It's that serious. So you can, or you've decided to fight, but we can't. But don't stop. We are silent because we have no choice. And they tell me straight, all I know how to do is to pipette chemicals in a university lab. I'm a doctor this, but I'm a bench scientist and I can do nothing else. I can't sell anything. I have no other skills. So I cannot lose my position in this chemistry department or this physics department or this biology department. So I have to be silent. In this immunology department, all I know about is immunology. And that's what has happened. And that's why the public has not been informed. And that's why we've been done. What has happened has happened. Because there's only a few of us like on this phone. And that we can't do the lift alone. That is why now with these truckers, with the people who have the dirt underneath their fingernails, who are the important part of society, but the unheard of part, they have now come forward. That is why we need to support them, because they are going to win this for us. And they're going to put doctors and scientists to shame. They're going to show people how this should have been done. They're going to fight. And that's all I have to say.
Hell yeah. Well,
If I could just interject for
sure. Dr. Latulip?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, well, sorry. Somebody was just saying. Somebody
Jim.
was just trying to.
That was Jim.
Oh, Jim. Jim, take it away.
I think he lost connection.
I think we
Well,
lost him.
if Jim's not there, I do have something to say.
All right.
This is Dr. Latulip.
Somebody's phone's beeping. Never mind. It's fine. Dr.
Yeah.
Latulip?
Yeah, so I think that those of us who stood up early and exposed the corruption early, we paid a hell of a price. I mean, I've sold my clinic, I have lost my livelihood, and I've got 2 battles going on in court right now, and I don't like it a bit. And there's not a day that goes by when I don't have thoughts of quitting and saying, forget it, I'm out of here, I'm just going to go fishing.
Yeah.
But I just can't do it because there's so much at stake here. And I agree with you. I think the truckers can be extremely effective. And I go beyond that because, I'm retired Air Force. I flew heavy aircraft. I flew fighter aircraft. And I retired with the Oregon Air National Guard as chief of medicine. And I'm an ordained minister, been Bible college and seminary trained. And so I've got an eclectic background. And when you put this whole big picture together, it leads me to the conclusion that we are definitely at war. There is a coup in progress, and nobody seems to want to acknowledge that fact. But there is a plan to literally destroy America, to destroy the world. The globalist agenda, the Great Reset, seems very real. I mean, it doesn't appear to be conspiracy theory because when you connect all the dots, that's what it points to. And so I think that the truckers are just a grassroots level entity that is so extremely powerful because it hits home with everybody. And so it hurts those people who are innocent, who are just trying to live their lives, but it hurts the people also who are just sitting on the fence and doing nothing, fat and sassy because they just want to play by the rules as they always have. But it also hurts those people who are attacking us. And I think that because of that reason, it's going to be a great, tremendous wake-up call. And I'm all for that. And I think we need to do everything we can to support these people any way we can.
Hell yeah.
So I thought that I'd jump in now that I'm back online again very quickly. I first of all, I really, I have so much respect that I had completely lost when this whole thing started. When I was first asked to wear a mask voluntarily, and I refused. Then I watched people around me slowly mask up, and then finally, I was asked to. I was asked to mask because now it was a policy of the company.
Yeah.
And I refused.
Just walked in and I was muted.
And I ended up getting fired for my refusal. But what was disturbing to me was the horror that I felt that I was asked to lie to myself because I knew that the mask wasn't going to protect me from any virus, period. I'm not a fool. And I couldn't take that. So for those of you that are the doctors and the scientists and the researchers and the chemists who have taken your ethics and you live by those ethics, I commend you for not being guilty of omission, because that's really where we failed here. You know, I will tell you without question that for those of you that have lost your jobs, your income, and everything else, that is the height of honor. You wear the badge of the real honor. You wear the badge of what a new science, of what a new medical field would. You are the pillars of that new rise from the ashes. Because right now, the medical field, science field, is completely trashed. But those people who have, you know, the understanding and the knowledge and the expertise in what's taken place, what you have shown is the backbone to stand up for truth, as opposed to looking at your pocketbook. Okay. And at the end of the day, this is a very sinister thing that they've done. There's no question that there's an agenda here. And they used people's economic situation and circumstance. They used it as a weapon against them to force them into either lying to the public or lying to yourself. And what you've done, all of you, all of the doctors, I've met so many of the doctors, and I can say one thing for certain, that the ethics is impeccable. The honesty is beyond reproach. And this is what is going to be important in the future. Because once the ashes happen to this whole narrative, the truth will rise, and you will be the leaders of a new medical and a new science and a new way of approaching health that will be second to none. And as much as it's a dark time right now, I think that it's going to be so bright when we get past this darkness that it's unbelievable. And I just want to address the children. You know, they're talking about the protesters. I cannot tell you how many strollers were in this protest. I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of strollers. Hundreds and hundreds of children just in my vicinity. And, you know, I never really knew what kind of a family affair trucking was until I got up to the cabs and stood up, because I wanted to talk to the drivers. I look in, and it's not just a driver. There's a wife, there's children, you know, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, oh my God, that's like these are real family businesses that are being destroyed and devastated by this agenda that is to rip apart community, family, and the world. Distancing, they don't want us to be communal anymore. That's what that means. Distancing is about separation. It's about creating a mental health crisis in this world. So when I look out into the crowds here in Ottawa and I see the look of freedom, everybody smiling for the first time, the joy, I cannot tell you how many of my colleagues have wept over the phone talking to me about how free they feel. All of a sudden, their vaxxed parents are baking cookies and coming out. And that fractured family is no longer fractured. They're coming together. And as whoever was talking earlier, there is a coming together, and there will be a reckoning. And that reckoning will be that the truth will prevail, and the evil that has created this is going to fall hard, fall on its knees, never, ever to take over our society again. That's what I believe, and I see it because of the principled people that took a stand and went, to hell with my income. I cannot tolerate being a liar, a cheat, and a thief. So I commend and I salute all of you. I salute all of the moms. I salute all the truck drivers for having the tenacity, what they've done, which is unbelievably going worldwide. And that's what's happened here. The truckers have galvanized the world to seek freedom. And I am so happy to be amongst your company, to be a part of bringing our world to a place where it needs to be, should be strong and free with our God-given rights. And no government and no person can ever strip that away from us again. I'm so proud to be amongst all of you. That's all I wanted to say.
Well,
Amen.
amen.
And you know, here we have some really strong, you know, mama bears and papa bears out there that are really fighting for their kids. And I know in our community, really, what's happening is there's a resurgence of knowledge and a resurgence of restoring the patient-physician relationship when it comes to at least my practice, because a lot of these families have been kicked out of other practices because they are refusing the COVID vaccine for their children, and which is ridiculous. It's unethical. It's against the oath, everything. And so what we're finding in our practice is, of course, we're busier than we've ever been. We are trying to service as many people as possible. We are trying to educate. I mean, my primary thing that I do most of the day is really just educate and try to reassure these families there's nothing wrong with them and that there is no harm in waiting. You know, we need more science. We need more to come out. We've monetized medicine. And when you monetize something like that, it becomes dangerous. It becomes all about the almighty dollars. Absolutely. But our kids, we're seeing this around the country. We're even seeing it in our localities where we're seeing parents go into school boards where school boards used to run them, you know, do whatever they wanted to do. Parents weren't watching them for the most part. And now we see crowds, standing room only, in every school board meeting now, because parents now see the veil has been lifted, the scales have come off their eyes. They've realized that there's always been an underground agenda that they never saw before. But now that their kids had to be online, they started to listen what the teachers were saying. They started to listen about what's going on and what their children are being taught. And that's when they started standing up and saying, absolutely not, you're not teaching my kid this. And so we're seeing this across, like wave across. And when I don't, I really feel like I've told a bunch of what we call our Freedom Doctor Alliance, I've told those guys, look, you know, we're going to rise from the ashes. We're going to be the phoenix that rises, because we know that we have never abandoned our patients. We know that we have always done a patient-physician relationship to the best of our ability and tried as hard as we could not to let anything in between that. And what we're seeing now is doctors banding together all across the country and starting, you know, we're talking about starting micro hospitals to save people from hospitals. We have doctors that are breaking people out of the hospital. We call them jailbreaks. We're getting these people home. We're caring for them at home. And we're proving that we can do this. We can do this at home. We never ever, and I'm not just speaking for myself, but I'm sure there's other doctors that are like, we've never thought we'd ever say that we don't trust a hospital, ever. I can't send my patient to the emergency room because I can't trust them. And that's ridiculous. That's a really sad state of affairs. So what are we doing? We're taking the bull by the horns and we're going to start our own. We're going to start our own emergency rooms and observation units and surgery centers. And we are going to restore the faith, and we're going to actually improve medicine for the better. I truly believe that.
Could I ask
you? You are so right. Oh my God. You know what? That's happening here in Canada as well. Unbelievable. We have all kinds of clinics that are being formed by doctors and nurses, like all over everywhere, where they're literally forming right now. I am so happy to hear that. It means that we are going to a better place. I apologize for interjecting, by the way.
No, not at all. So, excuse me, I'm chewing food. So that's actually what I brought up yesterday on a podcast, is how would that be possible? Is it possible? But how difficult would that be to actually set up sort of a parallel medical community, including hospitals, for people that are just fed up with everything that's going on? I don't know if you could touch on that, Dr. Farella.
Yeah, we're doing that now. I mean, I'm in Southeast Houston. And what we did is we found like-minded doctors, right? So that are tired of the narrative, or, you know, felt ridiculous that they had to find an exemption to say no to something that they really feel is not appropriate in their, you know, in their body. And so we found a little band of misfits, I guess you can call us. And we are now seeking, like today, I was driving around looking for new property where we can start a new Freedom Clinic. And I think what we have to do is really educate, and I think a lot of our patient populations are starting to understand that. And, I kind of got sick and tired of the narrative, and I also felt a very strong need to bring doctors like me in to for fellowship and camaraderie and support and encouragement. And we did that just recently in January, and we're doing it again in April here in Texas. And we're bringing freedom doctors in, people that want to join the fight, people that, think like we think, that have suffered some of the things that are what I consider just a horror show. I mean, what happened to Steve is just a nightmare. And there's doctors all around the country that this has happened to as well. And so what we're doing is we're bringing them in, we're lifting them up, we're giving them encouragement, we're giving them other options that you can still make a living and still be a great person and use your knowledge base. And this is what we're doing. So we're starting entrepreneurship within the medical community with, for me and in our area, we're looking for space for a surgery center, a birthing center, because we have a like-minded OBGYN, we have a like-minded surgeon, we have a nephrologist, so we're going to even do some dialysis. We have infusionists, so we're going to do an infusion center. I mean, all these things. We have a physical therapist, we have a counselor, we have behavior modification therapists. I mean, we have them. They're coming in, X-ray technicians. I mean, you name it. They have banded with us, and we are going to just start on a small scale and build up. We can do this. We don't need a whole lot of capital. I mean, it would be nice, but honestly, we have to even build these from the grassroots up. Local leadership is where it's at. We cannot rely on large corporations anymore. We have to break that mold. We have to go back to independent physicians, because that is what's happened over the last 10 to 15 years. You have seen independent physician practices been gobbled up by big companies. And when that happens, they get pushed into a mold, and they're told, I don't care if you're a square peg, you need to fit in this circle, whether you like it or not, or else your livelihood is stripped. And so now what's happening is there's a shift back to independence, which is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And I think there's a lot of docs now that are realizing, yeah, I made a better salary, but what did I sacrifice? I remained independent through all of this nonsense. I had 2 companies trying to buy me out over the years, and I said no, because I knew that maybe they were going to offer me a little carrot, but at the end of the day, they were going to bury me, and I was not going to be who I was called to be, and I was not going to be able to practice medicine and do the best for my patients the way I wanted to. So I remained independent. Am I a multimillionaire? Absolutely stinking not. I'm a pediatrician. I'm the dirt that holds up the totem pole of medicine, as far as pay is concerned. So, and that's not why I got into medicine. I got into medicine to take care of people and to be an advocate for children. That's what drove me my entire life. I spent over half of my life in this career that is my calling, to protect the kids. And here it is, such a time as this. This is exactly when I stepped up to the plate. I started very early on. I stood up, wouldn't close my office, took the mask. I was threatened with fines if I didn't wear a mask in my own office. After I caught COVID from a delivery guy, about 2 weeks into wearing the stupid mask, I said, no more masks. We're done. We're done. And we've been maskless for over a year and a half at this point. So we're setting a standard that's different. And I still know that there are what I would call freedom doctors stuck in a system that right now they're kind of stuck there until we build these micro hospitals and these, little clinics, these freedom clinics. These are happening. They're happening now all across the country. And we just have to have people find us just as much as we need to find them, because we'll grow when we attract the people that are just like us. And it's a lot bigger than we think. We still have people hiding in corners, sucking their thumbs, and crying over their oppression because they're too scared to give it up. And now you're seeing I've seen so many doctors step up to the plate just in the last 3 to 4 months, and it's like this revival, which is fantastic. We need this. We need to go back to independent, throw your finger on the wall, and treat every person that walks in the door as a human being. That's what we need to return to.
And Angie, this is Steve Litchfield. If I can piggyback on that, I think what we recently experienced at the Freedom Doctors Alliance, our gathering there, the conference in Texas, was just absolutely incredible. And I think it was an initial spark that could just grow tremendously because we are speaking the truth. And in essence, we are the mainstay of what good medicine always has been, which is evidence-based medicine. And when other doctors and even mid-level providers, but mostly physicians, when they have a platform to stand on and a support base, I think that if we can advertise this, get the word out, despite all of the censorship, I think there is just going to be a tremendous flourishing. We will mushroom and spread like wildfire, and that's what we need to do.
Absolutely.
Well,
I feel like we're on this.
Excuse me?
I was saying, okay, like the Zello up over, because in there everybody waits a while to not cut somebody off, and then we end up cutting off people every time. Yes, so I think General E, are you still here? Navy Mom, Dr. Farrell, you didn't get a chance to talk to them, but Dr. La Tulip is on. I don't know if Dr. Paul Alexander got out yet, but we want to wrap this up with a nice little note about how this episode went down and what you guys, have to say. So, Tommy, you can give us a little run through, and we'll thank everyone, and we'll wrap it up, because if we don't, poor Tommy's going to be editing all night, and we really want to get this out to the public today. So I know AJ's on there, great, amazing guy, and Navy Mom, Dixie, you all are rocking this, and I believe so much in this movement and what you guys have done. So go ahead and
thank you, Carolina.
Yes, wrap it up, Tommy, and then
appreciate you.
To editing.
I will close this
Navy
out.
Mom, still right here.
Thank you, Navy Mom. Thank you, Jenny, Dixie, AJ, Dr. Latulip, Dr. Alexander, who I don't think is here anymore, Dr. Farella.
Yes, thank you too,
Jim.
Tommy.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, thanks for
guys.
us.
Thank you so much for coming on here. I will get to editing, and we should hopefully have this up within, I don't know, by midnight. It's 10 p.m. now. By midnight, I should have this up. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for what all of you are doing. My podcast is your podcast. It's your platform. Thank you so much.
I would like to say, if at some point, Tommy, you get the inclination, you're more than welcome to come on the channel. Come on. Talk to other truckers, talk to the kids, because at the end of the day, the whole reason any of us are doing this is to protect the children of today and future generations. And I think maybe a one-on-one with the kids could really be eye-opening.
I would love to.
Absolutely.
I think that would be wonderful. Hell yeah.
That's right. USA got their day is here to stay.
Amen. Let's go, Brandon. General E's out of here. If y'all ever want to call on me again for some fiery information, I'm willing and able.
I'll give it a
Thank
listen,
y'all.
Brandon.
Thank y'all for having us on here to talk.
Thank you.
Keep fighting.
Well, thank you for coming on. And
God bless
everyone. Yeah, God bless. God bless Canada. God bless America. God bless the world. We will win this. Evil never wins.
God bless the world.
Hell yeah. Let's do this thing.
Nothing will stop truth,
Just
justice.
strong and hold the line, y'all.
We got
They're not moving anywhere. We're staying until our freedoms are back, and then we're going to put our sights on the U.S.
hell yeah.
Amen.
Right.
Well,
And USA.Big will be there for that too. I can promise you that.
hell yeah. Well, everybody.
Thank y'all for having me on there.
Thank you. God bless
I don't even know if
everybody.
y'all can.
Stay safe. Much love. And hey, conference tomorrow at 1 p.m. for everybody listening. But by the time you hear this podcast, it'll probably already be 1 p.m. So Godspeed. I got to get out of here. Much love, y'all.